We have become so desensitized to all the news. It piles up each and every day, and we just say, whatever, it's not gonna be any change. There's nothing's gonna happen. We gotta avoid it. We gotta ignore it. Look over there, it's a shiny object. And yet, so much is going on, and I'm going to show you why this is such a concern. What's on your mind? We're gonna discuss that first. You came here for the truth. So let me unveil that for you. In today's video, I want to talk about my favorite topic, inflation. Who causes it? Oh, don't don't look over there. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. The most important financial problem facing US families. Look, high cost of living and inflation. This is it. And then in a second place, far second place, is the cost of owning or renting a home. It's the same. What about this? Number 3, too much debt or not enough money to pay debts. Then you get into healthcare. Then you get into lack of money or low wages and energy costs and so on. That's pretty serious when you think about it. Okay? So this is what people are thinking of, not having enough cash. Not having enough cash. And what has happened right now is very different than what we had experienced, let's say 2019. Yes, of course, it's always getting more expensive, but the surge has been so, it's like as if it's a recession and people lost their jobs. During those periods of time, you have, this calamity where everybody is, the food bank, everything, all that stuff. But it's technically not a recession. And technically, it's, the unemployment is so fantastic. It's so low. And what? People can't afford their essentials, the necessities. And at the same time, you could look at two factors, all really just basically crushing you from one side and the other, or from top and bottom. You have the Federal Reserve printing the currency into infinity or confetti, and then you can see what the government is doing, spending like there's no tomorrow. It's creating a perfect storm that's making it more and more difficult for people just to get by. We have this chart here, percent of Americans with no retirement savings. And certainly, of course, younger, if you're 18 to 29, that's probably not a first priority. You're probably more worried about getting a home and so on. But once you get into your 40s, you would think that people would start to be able to accumulate. But now, not the case. And I think, the people that are in this younger age, they're going to get into their 40s and none of them, or, the vast majority of people will be unable to. I think the percentages are just going to get worse. That is frightening, very frightening, because you may have people going into the workforce and at least they'll try to never leave the workforce. And that's a huge difference than what we had before was as those people leave the workforce, that opens up a job for somebody else younger. But if that doesn't happen, then you got an issue. Okay, because there's more and more people that are technically able to work, but not able to find a job. All right, or at least one that pays the bills. This is a problem. The simple reason why 80% of Americans can't save money. Look, you can see people just don't have enough cash because they're plain and simple. I mean, the wages for a lot of the jobs haven't kept up with the rate at which they've devalued the currency and made everything more expensive. A lot of people just want to point fingers and they say, look, it's McDonald's that's the problem because they increased their prices. Well, they may, I don't know about their profit margins specifically, but a lot of these companies, maybe they did increase more than they needed to, but we all know that input costs have risen. We know that. What was the first thing they did? They increased in California. They said, okay, all the fast food workers, you're making $20 an hour now. Immediately, they raised their prices because they just have a calculation. Okay, This is the amount we've got to do to get back to where we were. That's just a matter of fact. So the point is, the price of stuff, of everything, has risen. But nobody wants to look at the fact that they've been punishing this currency. An often overlooked jobs indicator points to deep cracks in Canada's labor market. But let me show you something. What's interesting about this is out of Bloomberg, is that this is what people don't understand about the US labor market. This is huge. Okay. Once you understand, the reason I'm showing you this is like, this is so hidden in the United States. And I'm just found it here. And I thought I have to show my subscribers this because they need to understand it. They probably already do. I mean, I've talked about it many, many times before, but it was just interesting to see it written out like this. Canada's job market is less robust than the country's most closely watched employment indicator suggests. Data from the Payroll Employment Survey, this is a census of all paid workers in Canada, indicates the country added a mere 17,000 jobs over the 6-month period ending in February. That's a far cry from the 183,000 reported in the labor force survey, which polls households and is faster to publish the results. Do you see that? Huge, right? This is exactly what is done in the United States. Okay, when we actually calculate them all, oh yeah, we got a big problem. Oh, but we just do this little survey, this little subset, and oh yeah, the numbers are never accurate. That's what goes on. And every time you can see, like over the last almost 2 years now, there's been a problem in the United States where it's just going basically flatlining. They're saying, oh yeah, we're creating more jobs, more jobs. Yeah. And you can see that number just getting bigger, like as if the population was like 1 billion in the US. Like you just look at this thing, it just keeps going up. Whereas the survey, which actually shows us the real information, is just basically flatlined for a couple of years. That is not a good sign. And it's the same in Canada, Europe, don't even get me started. It's time to talk about the dirty word on Wall Street as whiffs of stagflation intrude on the markets. All I wanted to show you here was that stagflation is the big concern. You can't get growth, but you've got inflation. This is the problem that will sting. It will sting, and it's likely to be persistent for a long period of time, okay? Because they weren't willing to put interest rates up to the level they needed to be to actually just intentionally cause a problem, cause a crisis. Yes, bad, painful, it sucks, but let's get over it real fast. Nope, not willing to do that? Okay, well now you're going to feel a big burden for a much longer period of time. The Great Freight Recession has now lasted longer than the 2020 bull market, to the end of one of the worst freight markets in history, maybe closer than it appears. With freight, I was just told by my supplier that prices are increasing. We'll see how that goes. I didn't like that one. But the point is, when I look at this right here, that could be a relation to, is it the Red Sea? Is it, what's happening around the world? What's going on? There could be many factors here when we talk about freight, but I can tell you right now, it is not cheap, okay? It is not cheap. California carrier and freight brokerage ceasing operations, blaming AB5. Owner cites independent contractor law, states hostile operating environment. When you got less competition, when you have less individuals and the businesses operating everything, in the end, it means it's going to be more expensive for people. That's it. Okay. Do you see? There's many factors here which are going into this. And then we get to this point here. Thank you for staying with me until the end of the video. This is what we need to really get into, and that is America's running out of money and nobody cares. Well, not nobody, but that's the title of the article. I know you and I do. And hilarious when I see some YouTubers talking about the debt doesn't matter. It is garbage. It's garbage. But anyway, looking at this, in mid-May, the national debt was $34.5 trillion. The pace of the growth in that debt is equally stunning. Approximately $1 trillion is being added to America's national debt every 100 days. Quite terrible it is. I just want to show you this as well. This is why it's much more important than these these other people out there that are spreading this nonsense. But anyway, that's besides the point. Each percentage point of debt to GDP increases interest rates by about 5 basis points. That means less productivity and therefore less economic growth. You see that? So as the debt to GDP goes up, the economy slows down. You get that? That's it. That's it. That's all you got to know. But no, the debt doesn't matter. The debt doesn't matter. Why? Well, they keep adding more debt every year. Yeah, well, what's happening to real economic growth or the real economy? Yeah, there is no growth. Oh, the economy grew at 3%. Powell was saying, look how good. If you watch the little clip, there's some clips that have surfaced from that meeting he was at, the conference he was at. And it was basically saying, he goes, the economy is doing well. We've got 3% growth last year. It was doing well in comparison to the rest of the world. And look at the unemployment rate. Oh, it's so fantastic. I mean, it's great. Look at the economy. I mean, to ignore the fact that prices are people can't afford their anything today. Anything. Food bank lines go down the street. People are applying for one job that doesn't even pay well. And there's like 1,000 applications, 500 applications. Something is broken. And this is what they say to you. You know it's purposely done just to stab you. Just to stab you. That's what it is. And they love to do this. They love to do this. It's intentional. This isn't a bunch of incompetent people, thinking or a bunch of rich guys sitting. No, that's not what this is. This is to make you know that you are a slave, that you are a servant to those at which the Powells of the world who they are reporting to. This is, of course, a big issue. Now, I can go down that road. Okay, I can go down that road, and I have before. But what can you do as an individual? I don't more than anybody else. I get into the actual solutions, not just talking about the data that's out there. Look, you see this. Look at the writing on the wall. More inflation's coming. Your currency is being devalued. What can you do? Well, the first thing that you can do, if you exist, let's say you're in Canada, let's say you're outside the US, a lot of times you could be earning other currencies, whether that's, you're earning British pounds, you're earning US dollars. Quickly bring that in, and hopefully you'll be able to get that, currency diversification and arbitrage that and benefit from it. That's one thing. You do that by having an online business, okay? At the same time, you need to be able to be mobile. It's very difficult for a lot of people, but being mobile is going to give you some ability to basically say, look, I've had enough of this place. I can't do it anymore. The price of the homes are too expensive. The property taxes have gone up, for Toronto, 9.5% in 1 year. 9.5% increase property taxes. They just smashed the hammer on everybody. They don't care, right? Capital gains goes up. Everything goes up. And at the same time, people are suffering to pay their stuff as it is. And so they say, you know what we got to do? We got to push you down even further. It's like you're climbing, you get to the top of the hill and you look up and there's Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen and they stomp on you and you get boom and you go rolling down the hill again, okay? This is a time in which we cannot get our eye off the ball. We have to work as hard as we possibly can. We got to put our heads together and we got to do everything that we can. Right now, If you can be growing a garden, grow a garden. It might not make a big difference, but look, in my case, okay, growing food, I haven't done anything, but the herbs all came back. So imagine I've put $0 into it and already have been able to harvest from it. It's small, yeah, it's small, but for somebody who eats the herbs every day, okay, a lot of them, it helps. And we got to do these small things. Do you agree? Hit that thumbs up. If you don't, make a comment below and tell me why you hate me. All right? Either way, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.